On this week's episode, I want to discuss a few things that have me very angry. Number one, there's been a lot of nonsense in the news lately about what's acceptable and what's not when it comes to the loss of human life. And number two, what does it really mean to be pro life? And are we pro life? Are you ready? Welcome to the Church 2060 podcast, where we talk about all things church, where we've been, what we've learned, and where we're going. I'm Mike Brewer. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 5 of Church 2060. What a week it has been. I feel like I've said that for 5 weeks in a row now, and we are still running strong with crazy stuff in the news, kids who aren't going back to school, people who are not going back to work, businesses who are hurting, stimulus checks going out to some, not all, loan money from the federal government going out, and not everyone getting a piece of that pie. People are still hurting. What a wild, wild time we're in. But there's something on my mind today, and I'm not going to let it go. I'm not going to pass this opportunity up to talk about it because I feel like it's systematic of something that's been going on in the church for as long as my old body and brain can remember, and that's this discussion from people we vote for about what's okay and what's not, and us blindly following the nonsense. I heard some stuff on TV this week. Actually, I read it because I've been trying to keep the TV off and just read a little bit of news here and there so that I'm not glued to the news anymore because it is all very depressing and we're here for what looks like a while. There's no sense in hanging on to the news. But I've heard people talk about reopening America, which sounds awesome because a lot of people, not only are people dying from what's going on and sick in the hospital, but people are also financially hurting, big time financially hurting. Businesses going under, jobs being lost, people wondering how they're going to pay their rent. You know, you've been listening to the news, you know. But I also hear people discussing things like, what do we reopen first? What's an acceptable amount of risk and death to reopen this economy? And my head immediately began to spin. And I thought, this joker is not going to sit here and talk about how many people it's okay for us to lose. Now understand, I say this as someone whose income is down too. I'll be honest, I haven't lost all of my income like a lot of people have. So I'm not hurting as bad as everyone else. So know that I am sensitive to what's going on, but I'm also sensitive to life. And sometimes people say things that are so insensitive that it makes me want to slap somebody. I heard someone say, and we're going to be nameless on this podcast, but I heard someone say 2 to 3% is an acceptable level. And they were talking about kids in school. And the acceptable level they were talking about was death. And I lost a breath for a minute. That feeling you get when you're like, did that just really happen? And you're a little bit scared and you think, is this going on? Now let's say it's on the low side, 2%, and let's say we're talking about a school with 1,000 people in it. You do the math. How many kids is that? Do you know those kids? Do you know their parents? Are they your kids? Are they my grandkids? Does that hurt? Is that acceptable? Are we okay with that? 2 to 3% of our kids is acceptable? Are you kidding me? Luckily, my grandkids have sensible parents, and they'll make sensible decisions about if and when they let their kid go back to school. So I don't have to worry too much about what my grandchildren's parents will do. But I certainly will not be okay with someone telling me that 2 to 3% of our children are an acceptable sacrifice to reopen an economy. Are you kidding me? Seriously. Especially when this is coming from the people who claim to be pro-life. It's not okay. We have to back up. We have to peel the layers back a second. Peel off the nonsense that we've put on top of something that we hold dear to us, and we've lost our way. As far as I can remember, the church has said we are pro-life. as far back as I can remember. We haven't changed much, but I will say there's been a few changes. I don't see us protesting abortion clinics much anymore. I do see us telling people how to vote, telling people what they can and can't do, judging people, and trying to take the moral high ground. Fast forward to today, that was kind of today, but what we've evolved into, this idea of pro-life, it started with, we don't think abortion should be legal, and we're willing to fight about it. Maybe there was some healthiness to that, maybe there wasn't. But instead of being concerned about an individual or concerned about an actual baby, we've turned this into, we're pro-life, we've attached that to a political party, and all of our decisions revolve around that political party because we've attached the one issue that we care about to that. You may not agree with that statement, but that's what I see. When I see a man who calls himself pro-life, but then calls other countries crap holes, or calls other leaders dogs, or is perfectly fine with separating children from their parents, or detaining a child while deporting the parents, or having a child ripped out of his grandmother's home and his grandmother not knowing where he is or what country he's in or who's taking care of him, or a president, I'm sorry, I said I wasn't going to do that, or a man who tells other states or tells states in this country that they should have taken care of themselves instead of him trying to be more helpful. A man who takes no responsibility for anything, no responsibility unless it's something good he did, while people are losing their lives. That drives me absolutely bananas. We've had presidents before who've had to make tough decisions about whether to retaliate to protect our country or to maintain that retaliation, and they cautiously and lovingly, and I say lovingly because I've seen their actions and I've seen how they act, and they're hard. They made decisions to maintain those judgments, but while still doing it in a way that showed that they gave something, that they cared. We see homeless people right now who are not being tested or helped. And I've seen a report of someone helping homeless people by testing them, and they got arrested. That makes no sense to me. We're trying to take care of people, and they're getting arrested. We're seeing people go into the hospital, never see their family again because the families can't get in and die alone. But yet, what we do when we have press conferences is we grandstand, and we talk about how great we are and what we've done and how terrible the person before us was. That's what we've attached our name to. That's what the church has attached themselves to and said, we're pro-life. This is our guy because he's pro-life. Now, all while nothing is being done about the one issue that brought them to the dance in the first place. Nothing. Show me. There has been a gradual decline in abortions over the years, but it's not because any politician made any decision or changed anything. I remember this debate going back. I remember it, my earliest memories from the early 80s, and there hasn't been any change. I've seen us stop paying for abortions in other countries, but here in this country that we seem to be solely focused on, nothing has changed. But yet, we've stuck our flag in the ground for one place, for one group. And if you want to look beyond that too, look at social programs that benefit the poor, that benefit the needy, the elderly, the widows, the immigrants. I don't see it. But when someone goes on the news and says, these are acceptable areas, this number is an acceptable risk, we can go ahead and do this because those numbers are kind of low. If this group loses 2 to 3% or this group loses a couple percent, that's okay. That's worth reopening the economy for. Are you kidding me? Guys, that is the farthest thing from pro-life. That's the farthest thing from caring about life that you can find. That's saying the one thing I worship is money, and we're going to go after that. Guys, even in this pandemic and the unemployment rate the way it is, we're still the richest country in the world. If you own a house and have a car, you're in the top 20% of wage earners in the world. It's a true story. Things are not as bad as we think they are. There's a lot of people hurting, and there'll be a lot more. But the numbers will be staggering if we start taking acceptable risks. If we start saying 2 or 3% is okay. It's not okay with me. It's not okay with me if I lose a grandchild because we decided 2 or 3% is okay. It won't be okay with you if you lose a kid because someone decided that 2% is okay. We need to refocus. What started out as something decent and good has turned into something that's its own animal and has blinded us as a church to where when we hear things like we have to open America and we start deciding how many people it's okay to lose, we've lost our way. What seemed right 30 years ago, 40 years ago, has snowballed into this animal that has said everything is okay, from separating kids to not caring about refugees, to not caring about immigrants, to putting a price tag on the elderly, to forgetting about the homeless, to dropping social programs that help single moms, to help moms who are trying to raise a child. We've lost our way. If you took the time just to read Jesus' words on the Sermon on the Mount, you would see how politically we are completely backwards. It's not okay. We've lost our way. There's a better way, and we know what it is. But the problem is we've separated things so much in our mind, we may not be able to see it. But I would challenge you, read what the Bible has to say about life. Read what Jesus said. Just read the Sermon on the Mount and ask God to open your heart to what we're doing, and you'll see something's terribly, terribly wrong. Let's take a quick break to talk about something very important. Are you a church leader that deals with the church's finances? Do you find that a good deal of time is taken up dealing with bookkeeping? It's unavoidable. Between giving statements, bookkeeping, payroll, deductions, direct deposit, your time is precious. It seems like too much time can be swallowed up dealing with these issues while ministry opportunities can be missed. It happens to all of us. Or maybe your situation is one where there just needs to be a change. It's a very big deal to have someone who is fully invested and understands the liabilities involved. Did you know that more money is lost through bad bookkeeping than is spent annually on global missions? That's a true story. These reasons are why I want to tell you about Evermore Financial Services. Evermore Financial is owned and operated by ministry partners. They are both church planters. And that matters because they understand the struggle and have come to specialize in handling church finances. Evermore Financial offers customizable solutions for all church accounting needs, whether it's online giving statements, payroll, direct deposit, payroll deductions, housing allowance, or even W-2s. Whatever the needs are, the staff at Evermore understands and are ready to help. If this sounds like your needs too, whether it's today or 3 months from now, we want to talk. Your time is valuable to the kingdom, and Evermore Financial is here for you. And did I mention that the owners of Evermore Financial actually do care about the financial success of your ministry? They do. They really do. For your peace of mind, Evermore is invested in current technology to make sure that your convenience, privacy, and security are always a top priority. Through our cloud-based accounting software, you can have immediate and always up-to-date access to any of your accounts from anywhere, anytime. Your peace of mind and accessibility are important to us, so we always want you to have easy access to your books. While we can assist any business that is looking to grow, Evermore Financial Services specializes in nonprofits, particularly church planning and operations. Don't just take our word for it. Check out this testimonial from a local church. Evermore Financial Services continues to be a fantastic partner of ours. Not only are they consummate professionals in all of their interactions, but they provide us with a personal touch in helping us to manage and plan our financial strategy. Their attention to detail is a strong point in their process, and they are incredibly proactive, helping us to anticipate and plan for financial events. Their integrity is impeccable. If you have a church, nonprofit, or a small business that could benefit from a financial supporter, you would be well served to partner with Evermore Financial Services. If it sounds like this could be a fit for your needs, let me know. If you're thinking that this might be a need down the road, we want to hear from you. We get it. If you have any questions or you're ready to talk, email me. I am Mike at evermorefs.com. That's Mike at evermorefs.com. We're looking forward to hearing from you. And in the meantime, check us out at evermorefs.com. All right, now, I said at the top of the show I wanted to talk about what does it mean to be pro-life, and are we really pro-life? So let's talk about that. First things first, I want to open up some scripture. Since this is the Church 2060 podcast, and it is about all things church, what we've learned, where we've been, and where we are going, I want to go back to some verses that have been used over the years to defend the church's position on abortion. And correctly defended, I should say. But let's take a look at Psalm 139. I'm just going to read you a little bit as I open up the rest of this time. because I need to take a deep breath. I need to stop being angry and start looking at things a little bit more objectively. This is 13 through 16 of Psalm 139. It says, "For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in the secret place. When I was woven together in the depths of the earth, your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be." Now that is a very beautifully written, poetic look at who we are and why we are. Jesus knew us when we were being made, and we were wonderfully made, and nothing was hidden from him. Our inmost being was created by him. That is wonderful. I love that passage. That really describes for me what pro-life really means, and it's not limited to abortion, as it certainly pertains to it. It's about a lot more as well. What does it mean to be pro-life? Well, let's talk about a few things pro-life is not. Pro-life is not a political party. Pro-life is not a person. Being pro-life is a lifestyle. Now, this may not sound correct to you because it's not what the church has portrayed. It's not what we've been about. It's not how we've handled it. But that's what it is. It is a lifestyle of care. There's a lot of things going on in this country that I believe fall under the banner of pro-life. 40 years ago, pro-life meant you were anti-abortion. 30 years ago, pro-life meant you were anti-abortion. 20 years ago, are you following me? Pro-life meant you were anti-abortion. Today, I am challenging you to open your heart and open your mind to the possibility that pro-life is not only about the abortion debate. Now, let me be very, very clear. I hate abortion. I hate everything about it. I hate that there's a loss of life. I hate that a mom came to that decision. I hate that afterwards there are a lot of moms who regret that decision and have nowhere to go with it, because certainly the church won't do anything for that. There's nothing I like about it. I've seen the procedure. I've seen all the paraphernalia, all the literature. I've read it all. I hate it. I am not diminishing the church's position on abortion at all when I say what I have to say today. What I am doing is saying that as a church, we're failing the pro-life issue by limiting it to one issue. That's what I'm saying. There's a lot of things that go into being pro-life, if you ask me. Things like immigration, refugees, orphans, widows, the homeless, sex trafficking, slavery, healthcare for the elderly, accessible healthcare for people who have it and don't want it to be taken away because one political party doesn't like how it was made or who made it. Healthcare that's there despite the fact that some people consider it to be socialism. Pro-life is about single moms who don't have what they need to take care of a pregnancy. Single moms who don't have what they need to take care of a baby. It's about affordable medicine for people who are poor. It's about kids in other countries who are born with AIDS, who don't have the means to help them. It's about victims of violence. It's about justice for the oppressed. It's about the unborn. It's about the kid that's hungry. It's about the parents who are out of work and don't know where their next meal is coming from or don't know how they're going to pay their rent or their mortgage. It's about the hungry baby who doesn't know anything from anything, much less why he's crying because he's hungry. It's about the village in another country that doesn't have a sustainable water source. It's about the teenage girl who is sold into sex slavery, who has no choice about what she's going to do with her life any longer. It's about the kid who doesn't get to see his parents anymore because they were separated at the border. It's about the grandmother whose child or grandchild was taken away from her by the authorities because of the fact that they were here illegally. And that grandmother no longer knows where the child is or where her child is, what country they're in, how they're being treated, what's happening to them. Are they being taken care of? That's pro-life. Pro-life isn't one thing. When Jesus talked about the poor and the poor in spirit, he wasn't talking about one issue. He was talking about people in need, people who were depressed, people with anxiety issues, people who couldn't get the medicine they needed, elderly who couldn't get health care, kids who miss their parents, kids who have no parents, widows who are waiting for some assistance or who need some help, women that ran their household for years, but in order to do so had an income coming in. And when that income stopped, there was nothing to run anymore, and now they need help. Those are life issues. That's being pro-life. Caring about all those things is being pro-life. Dropping the person you support from the equation, separating political aspirations from the equation and saying, these are the things I care about. That is being pro-life. And I call it a lifestyle because it's not about who you vote for. It's not about telling someone how to vote. It's not about arguing with someone or debating with someone, trying to change their mind. It's how you live your life. If you want to go to the polls and vote a certain way, do that, but don't stop there. And I don't mean go and argue with someone else and try to change their views. I mean go love someone, find a way that you can help, find a way that you can dig in. Did you know that there are healthcare centers for women to help them take care of their child? I'm not talking about Planned Parenthood. I'm talking about local agencies that want to help women raise their child when they're in need. Yeah, if you're anti-abortion and you vote that way, great. But vote that way and then support those ministries. Yeah, that's a real thing. That's making what you believe a lifestyle. There are a lot of sex trafficking agencies now fighting sex trafficking all across the country. If you're pro-life or believe that you're pro-life, you should care about sex trafficking. If you vote for someone, if that's your issue and you vote for someone that's a crusader and wanting to end sex trafficking, great. But make it a lifestyle. Support those ministries. If you hate a certain politician because of things you've seen happen at the border, vote how your conscience is telling you to vote, but then make it a lifestyle. Do something to support the situation that you're so upset about other than just voting, other than just griping about it on social media. Do something to help. There's so many things that can be done now that will make things a lifestyle. You can donate to companies donate to nonprofits who are simply interested in creating sustainable water supplies for villages and other countries that do not have that, where the death rate from not having any water is through the roof. You could do that. There's a lot that can be done to make what you believe about being pro-life into a lifestyle. But don't limit being pro-life to one issue. I do not like abortion, but I also don't like sex trafficking. I also hate that we argue and argue and argue over programs that help people. I want there to be health care for people who need health care. I want there to be affordable prescription medicine for senior citizens who need it. I want the church to open their arms to widows and orphans. I want the church to care about the woman who had an abortion who's having issues now, whether they be health issues or emotional or mental issues, because of choices they made. We should be there for that person, not just judge them for what they've done. It's part of being pro-life. We should care about the fact that there's an enormous amount of depressed people in this country. There's a large number of people who are committing suicide every year. That is part of being pro-life. Yeah, are we pro-life? Is the church pro-life? I don't know. I really don't know. I want to say yes, but I will definitely say this. Are we pro-life? Here's my answer. The church is missing the mark when it comes to life. And what I ask of you today is to consider, are you pro-life? Do you care about life issues enough to do more than just vote? Do you care about life issues enough? Do you care about people enough to the point that after you vote, you do something helpful and productive other than start arguments and tell people they're wrong and tell them how to vote and tell them what they can and can't do? The church has missed the mark. I believe it's missed the mark for 40 years on this issue. But the good news is we, as a church, as God's people, have a way out. It's called having a change of heart and returning to the Father. We can change. We've been in the wrong place about this. We're learning the hard way about this. As we move forward, let's return to what the Father had to say about being pro-life. This has been the Church 2060 podcast. Thank you so much for listening. If you have any questions or comments, I am at Church 2060 online. And if you like what you heard, please hit subscribe and you will be notified when new episodes drop. Also, music provided by Taylor Robinson.